Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The NFL Show is brought to you by BetNow.eu. Use the promo code Truth100 to get a cashback bonus on your first deposit. I am your co-host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host from the FF Face-Off, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing awesome, Mike. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. And last night I was doing really good through a quarter because the Dolphins were beating the Steelers 14-0. But Mason Rudolph got the ship righted, 20 for 36, 251 yards. James Conner, 23 carries for 145 yards. The Steelers won the game 27-14. What do you take away from this?
My takeaway from this game is all about Mason Rudolph and the Steelers, and I didn't count them out. I think if Mason Rudolph didn't return and that injury against the Ravens would have knocked him out for the season, I would have buried Pittsburgh. But I think Mason Rudolph is a capable quarterback. He's weathering the storm. The defense has improved. They have playmakers. I mean, Deontay Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster, 2 great touchdowns. And I think that helps Mason Rudolph because he is still developing. And these speed receivers can go and make plays really from intermediate routes where he doesn't have to be Ben Roethlisberger. James Conner played really well. Now, he did leave the game with an injury, and that's the narrative with James Conner. He's always banged up. He could miss time. So that's one to monitor. But I think Benny Snell can fill the role, and Jalen Samuels once he's good to go.
So do you think the Steelers are still in this for the AFC North?
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any chance in hell they are.
Absolutely.
No way. They're 3-4.
You don't trust Lamar Jackson.
What's
he
that
can't
matter?
play quarter. But what's that matter? Because if Lamar Jackson falters and the Steelers, they're 3-4, they're 1 game out. They have to play the Bengals again. They have to play the Browns.
Yeah. They also, their next 2 games are the Colts and the Rams, which, even though they're at home, probably put them at 3-6.
I don't. We'll see.
Then they go to Cleveland, which puts them at 3-7. They play Cincinnati. They play Cleveland again. They go to Arizona.
So you don't think they can at least split with Cleveland?
No.
Because Cleveland's doing so much.
Cleveland has played a much tougher schedule. Cleveland has a better team, and I'll take Baker Mayfield over Mason Rudolph any day.
Oh, of course. But I'm not counting Pittsburgh out.
I'm counting them out.
Their defense is only getting better.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, 21 for 34, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Mark Walton, 11 carries, 35 yards. I think we can both agree the Dolphins are out of the playoff hunt, though.
Yeah, I mean, what do you make of the Dolphins?
I don't know. I mean, the thing that gets me is the turning point of that game was the all-out blitz at the end of the half. That makes me question the coaching. I mean, the Steelers were 3rd and 20 at the Dolphins' 45-yard line with 26 seconds remaining in the half, and the Dolphins were up 14-3. And
right.
Given how Mason Rudolph looked at that point, I mean, I just don't see why you would run an all-out blitz there, which would make me question the head coach.
I mean, I think you have the right to question Brian Flores because, you know, what experience? He didn't have a lot of experience. I get he comes from the Patriots, but that doesn't always work out.
Well, and that means that he's probably not the guy making the calls when it comes down to it anyways on the defense either.
On what? As far as Brian Flores calling the plays right now?
Well, I think that Brian Flores calls the plays right now, but I mean, I'm assuming the game plan was Bill Belichick for probably most of the last 40 years that Bill Belichick's had something to do with calling a defense. And that's not a shot at Brian Flores because you just shut up and let him do it. But when I look at it, I think Miami plays hard. I hold out more hope for Brian Flores than I would Opie Taylor in Cincinnati.
I think both coaches are going to get a shot. I mean, this isn't going to be one and done for either one of them.
It should be for one of them.
For who? Zach Taylor? Because you just don't like him?
Opie Taylor. No, I don't like him because he sucks as a coach. I don't know that about Brian Flores yet. Brian Flores at least has a little bit of a resume. He was the defensive coordinator for a team that won a Super Bowl. So I'll give him a more leeway than I will somebody that's done
the fact that
nothing.
His players are playing hard for him right now, that's a plus because if anything, the Dolphins are getting a little bit better. I mean, they're not getting blown out anymore.
Yeah, and right now, if the Dolphins played the Bengals, just because of that, I think the Dolphins are the team that wins that game. Now, maybe A.J. Green's back by then, and that changes the narrative a little bit, but I don't know. Are we done talking about this game? I had a hard time even watching it last night. At least Miami wore their old uniforms. It made it a little cooler. But Joe Flacco is getting a second opinion today on his neck injury, but based on the initial diagnosis, he could be out at least 5 or 6 weeks. I don't think that matters. This is Denver, and I really think the Broncos are going to struggle to win more than one more game if they can win one more game this season.
Yeah, I agree. And their defense is going to keep them in a lot of games, but they just don't have enough on offense, especially at quarterback with or without Joe Flacco. Their running backs, they're inconsistent. Royce Freeman, who I like better than Philip Lindsay, he has a shoulder injury. They have young receivers, and when you trade away an Emmanuel Sanders like you did, and it makes sense building for the future, and he's a veteran, you just don't have enough to compete right now.
All right, we have a question from Vince Petway in Massachusetts. He wants to know if we think Tom Brady will be a Patriot after this season.
You know my take on this, and I've been saying this for a long time. I think Brady is out in 2020. That is something I said at the beginning of last season because it will be his year, number 20, I believe, in New England. But I don't think Tom Brady's done. I strongly believe Tom Brady will be with the Tennessee Titans of all teams next year.
Why?
That's my take. That's the hot take.
Why would he want to go to a team that's probably not going to win a Super Bowl?
Ross, they have the pieces for a top 5 to 10 O-line. They have a pretty good defense if their offense doesn't put them in bad spots. And Vrabel. And they have that Ross Vrabel connection. Or Mike Vrabel connection.
I don't know.
That's New England South.
I know it's New England
I know
South.
he wants to play in Los Angeles, but they're really there's no options unless you're going to move Phillip Rivers out of Los Angeles because Goff isn't going anywhere.
Why wouldn't
I don't think Tom Brady
you
goes
can
to
win
Oakland.
a Super Bowl with Tom Brady with the Los Angeles Rams.
You just paid Jared Goff. Jared Goff, that's not an option. They're not going. That's not happening.
Okay, so they're not going to eat that money to win a Super Bowl?
And what, have Jared Goff as a backup? You don't think he's going to ask for a trade?
I would just get rid of him. Trade him.
And then when Tom Brady retires in a year, then what?
Well, all I know is
Jared
this.
Goff
With Jared Goff and giving Jared Goff that money, what the Rams have made is for the next decade, they're not capable of winning a Super Bowl. Jared Goff's never going to win a Super Bowl. He's not good enough.
But okay, a lot of quarterbacks aren't good enough to win Super Bowls. Does that mean that we're just going to trade them all and cut them all? No, Jared Goff's not going anywhere. So it's if Brady wants to go to Los Angeles and play, it's Phillip Rivers' job that he's going to take. It's not Jared Goff.
Okay, but I think it would be absolutely stupid to turn down Tom Brady because you want to keep Jared Goff and continue to lose. The kid's never going to win a Super Bowl. And yes, I think this. I think if you pick a quarterback number one, to be successful, he has to be able to win a Super Bowl. Mitch Trubisky, to be not a bust, has to win a Super Bowl. And it's never going to happen.
I agree. And I don't know if he'll ever win a division again.
No. And if he does, it'll be because the defense is really good.
Listen, if they're trading for C.J. Beathard, if that's a rumor, then I don't know if Trubisky makes it out of the season as a starting quarterback, never mind winning a division.
Well, he won't, because if you're going to trade for C.J. Beathard, I mean, what's the difference between C.J. Beathard and Chase Daniels? I mean, Chase Daniels actually has a better resume than C.J. Beathard.
But Beathard's been around for a short period of time. Chase Daniels been around for a while.
Yeah, that's my point, though. And we already know what Chase Daniels is.
C.J. Beathard, I think he's still on his rookie deal. So, in theory, it's a no-cost, no-loss acquisition for the Bears. Well, it can only make him better, and if it doesn't, you can always go back to Trubisky.
No, it can make him worse, because C.J. Beathard, I think, is worse than Mitchell Trubisky.
Okay, but at no cost, it's no loss.
It's a loss when he plays a game.
Are they winning right now?
No.
Okay.
And they're not going to win.
Okay, so it can't get any worse.
Well, it can, because 3-4 could turn into 4-12.
Same thing can happen with Trubisky, and we've established that.
We established that when I told you they would be last in that division before the year started. They're not a very good football team. They lost their defensive coordinator.
I picked them to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, they got Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback. Here's the other question. How long is Bill Belichick staying? Will he coach into his 70s?
Yes. Part of my take on why Tom Brady will play elsewhere, because I think Brady wants to see if he can do it without Bill, and I think Bill wants to see if he can do it without Brady, because there's egos involved.
Well, also remember this, though. Bill has Super Bowl rings before Tom Brady was ever even in the building.
As coordinator.
Yeah.
Which counts.
It counts, especially when both of those defenses were
But then, to our conversation yesterday, if you want to count those rings, then shouldn't Jason Garrett's rings mean something as the backup quarterback?
No. Why? He had nothing to do with it.
I mean, how do you think he learned how to be a head coach?
Exactly. And he's failed.
Okay.
Because remember this, he spent more time with Barry Switzer as the coach than Jimmy Johnson.
But he still had Troy.
So, Troy's not a coach. Troy's a quarterback. I don't think Troy taught him how to be a coach, because I think Troy was trying to teach him how to play quarterback. Troy failed there, too. Well, I mean, come on. Jason Garrett. So you're going to equate being a third-string quarterback for one Super Bowl win and a second-string quarterback with being the defensive coordinator.
No, but, I mean, I'm just trying to prove a point. Everybody has a role. Everybody has a place.
Yeah, but the problem is this. The role of the defensive coordinator is huge. The role of the third-string quarterback is minute. That would be
there was
like
also
saying,
a guy named Bill Parcells involved.
Yeah, a guy named Bill Parcells that won how many Super Bowls without Bill Belichick?
That's a good point.
Belichick still won Super Bowls without Parcells. Bill Belichick took Vinny Testaverde and the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs and actually won a playoff game, and he beat Bill Parcells for that one win in the playoffs.
Didn't Bill Parcells get the Cowboys to the playoffs with
Quincy Carter? Yeah. And
Quincy Carter, Drew Bledsoe?
But the thing is this. He got him with Quincy Carter. If it had been Drew Bledsoe, it would have been less impressive, because Drew Bledsoe wasn't a terrible quarterback.
No, but that was the year Romo came in, I thought, for Bledsoe.
This is the year that they also made the playoffs by going 8-8. So it's not like they were a 10-6, 11-5 threat to do something, and then they went to Carolina and got, mud stomped right away. So the point is this. Maybe if you'd had Bill Belichick, maybe he'd have made it to the next round. And I think Parcells is a great coach. And I think what makes Parcells, to me, a great coach is the fact that he hired Bill Belichick, if that makes any sense. I mean, great coaches hire other great coaches to coach with them.
Right. Well, who was the Giants coach that hired Landry and Lombardi on the same staff?
Steve Owens.
Yes.
Yeah. And Steve Owens, anybody will tell you, because there's actually a really good book you can find on Amazon about those Giants teams and Landry and Lombardi. And Owens, basically, once he hired them, he basically just sat back and watched and won championships. And then as soon as both of them left, I think Lombardi in 58 or 59 for Green Bay, and Landry in 60 for the Cowboys. I mean, other than 1963 when the Giants played the Bears for the NFL championship, the Giants, after 1963, after losing those two guys, didn't make the playoffs again until 1981. Didn't even have a winning season again, I don't think, until 1981. So, to me, Owens is a great coach, though, because he hired those two guys. And Lombardi was just a guy who was coaching at Fordham University when they found him.
Yeah.
Who couldn't get the head coaching job because he was an Italian. And there was some racial stuff that went on with Italians back then, and they wouldn't give him the head coaching job because he was wanting to go to Fordham. And he started off, I believe, as the offensive line coach and then became the coordinator. And he wanted to be the head coach there. And they told him, you're never going to be the head coach here because you're an Italian, which is why he went on and pursued a job in the NFL. It worked out all right for him. Not so much for Fordham, though.
So yeah, did you watch the NFL Network special?
No, it was the book I read about it.
I watched the book on tape.
I think it was like the name of the book.
It's an interesting story.
Fire and Ice. Yeah, it's a great story and it's a great book. I forget who wrote it, but I read this like 3 or 4 years ago because I had a buddy in Jersey that said it was a great book, and it was.
Vince Lombardi's actually, his grave is, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from where my wife grew up. And fun fact, my wife's been trying to put me next to him in the grave for 5 years.
Do you mean by a plot or actually kill you? And see, those women, they'll try to kill you, but you'll never know it. So the fact that you found out means that you should live a lot longer now.
I agree.
Yeah. Now she'll just drive you crazy.
No, she's listening, so I purposely said that.
Yeah. Well, does she know that you constantly talk crap about her all the time on the show anyways?
No.
I'm just kidding, Mrs. Cervino. All right. Let's go to the Chargers. They fired offensive coordinator Ken Whisenhunt after 3 seasons. What do you think about Whisenhunt's firing? I think he's taken the rap for a team that is just beat up, and this seems to be more of a GM issue in L.A. also.
This isn't the first time in the past maybe 6 or 8 years that the Chargers fired their coordinator. Remember a couple of years ago, wasn't it Mike McCoy? Was their head coach or coordinator? I think Whisenhunt, you're right. He's a scapegoat. I don't know if it's for the general manager. I like Anthony Lynn, but it seems like he could be on the hot seat next. Phillip Rivers isn't getting any younger. They have a lot of injuries. I think Whisenhunt was just the first to go.
All right, I think this is.
Or maybe it was Todd Haley. I don't know. They fired a couple of offensive
I think this is Lynn on the hot
6
seat.
to 10 years.
I think Lynn is on the hot seat because now Shane Steichen will call the plays, but Lynn will be heavily involved and give input. That's usually what happens right before you get fired. You become the coordinator or you take a larger hand in it because you're trying to save your job. At least that's the way I take it.
If they do end up firing Anthony Lynn at the end of the season, then I think you have to make a move at quarterback.
You don't have to, but you should.
And Phillip Rivers, he's in the Hall of Fame conversation, right or wrong, but he's not the same Phil Rivers as the past. And if you make a change at head coach, I think you should just clean house altogether.
So, do you think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Phillip Rivers was a big stats guy who never won the big game. And I put him next to Eli Manning, who wasn't a big stats guy, but very clutch in the big game. So if you ask me which one goes in, it's Eli.
Yeah.
If I could only put one in.
I don't think Phillip Rivers gets anywhere near the Hall of Fame. Never got to a Super Bowl.
You're one of the few who doesn't believe he's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I don't think he's even close to a Hall of Famer.
I think he's in the conversation.
I don't think he is. There's way too many guys that are much better than Phillip Rivers ever was that don't get in. I mean, he's never been an NFL MVP, has he?
I don't think so.
Never won an MVP, never even been to a Super Bowl. right there. I mean, if you compare him to a guy like Kenny Anderson won an NFL MVP. He went to a Super Bowl. I mean, to me, Phillip Rivers is nowhere near a Ken Anderson or a Jim Plunkett. Jim Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls. I know he had a rough start to his career, but, I mean, the dude won 2 Super Bowls, and he was a huge reason why those Raiders teams won the Super Bowls. You know? I mean, Roman Gabriel, I think, has had a better career. I mean, the stats are a little different, but Roman Gabriel also was a 1969 NFL MVP. To me, when guys like Jim Kelly get in, I think it just bastardizes the whole thing. You know, Jim Kelly is not a Hall of Fame quarterback. Marv Levy's not a Hall of Fame coach. So we need to quit doing this hall of good enough, and it should be just a hall for the greatest players that ever played the game. And I don't think Phillip Rivers is anywhere near that.
Now, do we have any trade deadline? Did we get into the trade deadline yet, or are we still doing the news?
No, go ahead, because I'm out of news.
Just to update, the trade deadline concludes today at 4 p.m. Le'Veon Bell, there is a lot of reports stating that the Jets want to move on from Le'Veon Bell already, and to me it doesn't surprise me because this is a guy who once Adam Gase said he would not have signed Le'Veon Bell to that contract. To me, this was never going to work. Le'Veon Bell isn't doing much. The Jets are going in the wrong direction, so it would be wise to move on from Le'Veon Bell, and there are a few teams who can use Le'Veon Bell. But with his contract, as of now, the Jets have not received a phone call. Meanwhile, the Chargers want to trade or reportedly are taking calls for Melvin Gordon. And if I'm an NFL team, I'm calling the Chargers about Gordon before Le'Veon Bell because Gordon you still have to pay. He's going to be a free agent. Where if you sign Le'Veon Bell or trade for Le'Veon Bell, you have to take on his contract.
Yeah, you're stuck with him.
Yeah. And Bell is also a little bit older. What is he, 26, 27?
Yeah. Plus, there is a history of issues with him. A big history.
Oh, absolutely.
And
so there.
Go
on. No, go on.
The other one that stands out to me is left tackle Trent Williams. And the Redskins are now fielding offers. Any idea where he could end up?
To me, there are 2 teams that could use his services, one being the Patriots, the other one being the Browns.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Bengals can use him, but I think that the teams that are like in New England, who just gave up a second for Mohamed Sanu, would be willing to pay more. And I don't know if Trent Williams is the long-term answer for the Browns.
Well, he is the answer for now. And with the rest of their schedule, I think they've got a shot to do something. With the Patriots, I think you got a couple linemen coming back in the next couple weeks. But if the Patriots are rolling with Marshall Newhouse at left tackle, they're not going to win the Super Bowl probably.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously the Patriots make the most sense for Trent Williams. Here's a head-scratcher. Last week, the Detroit Lions traded away their safety. I'm drawing a blank on the name, to the Seattle Seahawks. And this is a Lions team who looked really competitive earlier in the year. Their defense isn't playing great, and now they're fielding trade offers for Darius Slay, their top cover corner. Number one on Slay, they want a Jalen Ramsey return, which they're absolutely not going to get, which is why I don't think that he's going to be traded. But if you're the Lions and you're trying to compete, why are you trading your star cornerback and last week your star safety?
Well, maybe
like what the hell are they doing?
Maybe there's issues there off the field.
What, with Matt Patricia? I mean, then last year you had Golden Tate. Then, when is this going to come out of Matt Patricia? You're trading all your talent away. How are you going to compete with the Green Bay Packers in your own division or the Vikings?
Because you get rid of guys that you don't want there for guys that want to be there.
It seems like he just wants to stockpile expatriates.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Especially if, could Tom Brady end up a Detroit Lion? I'm just kidding.
No.
Because I'd
No,
rather
I don't
have
see that
Matthew
happening.
Stafford right now. Just because he's going to last a lot longer. But yeah, and the Lions are 3-3-1. They're still in it right now. They're within a couple games.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the other thing. The Raiders play the Lions this weekend, and I think whichever team wins that has a shot at the playoffs. And I think if the Raiders win that one, and we haven't talked about them yet, you get a Raiders win there to go to 4-4. You're hosting the Chargers and the Bengals back to back. They could be sitting at 6-4 with a legit chance to do something this season.
Yeah, maybe. I think 2 weeks ago when they beat the Bears, I had mentioned to you that they were in the playoff conversation, and we went through their schedule, and you bought in. But after seeing them play last, getting blown out by Green Bay, I lost faith in them. And then
Yeah,
last
but remember
week's
this:
loss,
there's not too many Green Bays in the AFC.
they need a piece. They need something on defense.
Well, I'm talking about making the playoffs. I'm not talking about making a serious run when they get there. And remember, we're in the AFC, where if you put them in the AFC North, they might be the best team by far. Just because they've got Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is about the most underrated guy you'll find. And if you look at this, if you get that win against the Lions, you're 4-4. You host the Chargers, the Bengals, you go to the Jets. I mean, they could easily win 4 straight games and be sitting at 7-4.
Yeah, and the AFC is extremely weak.
That's what I mean. I mean, if they're in the NFC, they're a 4-12 team probably.
Say, look, how about Tyrell Williams? He opens the year with a touchdown in every game. He misses a couple games with an injury, and he returns and scores last week.
Well, he's a scorer. He's like Steph Curry. But you got any other trade news? Are the Bengals trading anybody, or are they just going to stay
Cordy
on pat?
Glenn. There are rumored to trade Corey Glenn.
Who the hell's going to take Cordy Glenn?
I bet you Green Bay, New England.
Well,
And they'll make him a superstar.
Newhouse. Well, it's hard to make a guy a superstar that doesn't seem to really want to play. I mean, Buffalo, they had the same problem with an injury that he drug out forever. And I can tell you this. I watched him last year. He's an all right player, but I don't think he's worth the trouble. I mean, it is a huge upgrade over Marshall Newhouse. Because being a Bengals fan, I've seen Marshall Newhouse, and it's hard to get worse than Marshall Newhouse. Of course, the Bengals did because they got Bobby Hart and Andre Smith at one point and John Jerry. So the Bengals are where tackles go to die. Yeah, right now, Glenn recently got in a fight with the coach, asked for his release, was fined $200,000, was suspended a game. All I know is on the Bengals site, it says that the Bengals fielding offers for Cordy Glenn ahead of trade deadline, but there's not even a rumor of a team that might be interested. Man, if you're the Bengals, why do you hold on to these people?
I get it.
I mean, they don't have much to hold on to anyways. You know, you could probably rebuild this team if you traded A.J. Green, Andy Dalton, and Geno Atkins.
Yeah, you could certainly get a lot of picks back.
Yeah, you're getting a lot for A.J. Green and Geno Atkins, especially Geno Atkins.
You could probably get a first for Andy Dalton still.
Oh, yeah, there's teams out there that need him. I mean, the Chicago Bears, would you rather have C.J. Beathard or Andy Dalton?
Exactly.
I mean, right now, you put Andy Dalton on that team, they're probably a 6-2 team right now, or at least 5-3, because they've lost a lot of close games where they couldn't throw the ball. And I know Bengal fans are going to tell you how bad Andy Dalton is, but
he can throw.
The last game,
he's a quarterback.
Andy Dalton threw for over 300 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, and Bengal fans blame him. Tells you how stupid Bengal fans are.
Well,
and I mean, the other thing that bothers me is the fact that the Bengals aren't going to do anything to make their team better anyways. Cowboys going to do anything?
I think Michael Bennett was it.
Yeah. Well, money-wise, they probably don't have a whole lot to free up anyways, do they? Because you're still going to have to pay Dak when
No, you got to pay everybody.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You got anything else, Anthony?
No, that's about it. for now.
All right. Well, tell us. I'm sure you're probably doing an FF Face-Off later today, probably around 4 o'clock,
Yeah,
right?
right around 4 o'clock, Mike and I will be on the FF Face-Off. So whatever trades come through, we'll be there reacting to them. YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, ask your questions. We answer them live on the show. You can follow me at The Real NFL Guru. You can follow the show at the FF Face-Off. You can find us at all of the top social media and podcast platforms.
All right, guys. You can follow The Grueling Truth at Grueling Truth. You can hear us on pretty much anywhere you've got podcast. So, for Anthony Cervino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.